All right, everybody, let's review the market today and see what opportunities they had. The first one, just take a look at is gold. So what happened was that the market rallied here and then pulled back, and I was looking at this level right here, but got into a different market. This was 32.90. So this area right here was the area to get in. And usually, there wasn't a higher time frame setup or anything, but I could tell from the amount of juice, amount of volume that came in, that they wanted to go up. And you can see that very clearly in two spots. I forgot where it was. No, this was it. Yeah, so this was it. What happened was this was what do you call it? The column right here, right? This column right here that you can see. Look at the juice. Look at the volume. It's the biggest in 46. Biggest volume right here, and it had all the high volume prints. And the 32.90 would have retested this 20. 20 stands for 20 times 100, so 2,000 contracts just at that area. So it's a no-brainer that test to get in. And so this was you consider it like a volume off the bottom. It's not a major trend down, but you consider it volume off the bottom. Going down, 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 and then bang right here. From the bottom, there's a lot of volume. It's similar to that, or maybe just call it demand. It doesn't really matter. Just look, the biggest in 46. Look at the juice, the volume, the green. It's just buying activity. So there's a lot of buyers here, and it got tested, and then it went crazy. So this is actually buying low, or the accumulation from these lows. Right. So that was the first one. Second one. This was a little bit more challenging. But where the hell was so you just needed to know how to get in. So the first time it gave some demand over here. This was some preliminary demand, but this was the demand that created an entire column, and that is the key. So you just needed to make sure you didn't get stopped out here, or if you did, you re-entered on this pullback. And why I say that is because when these waves are supported by the tapering chart with a big column of volume, it's a no-brainer. This was it right here, right? This is the biggest in 83. It swept it or tested the lows, so just don't get stopped out. Or if you did, the next one has even more volume, biggest in 90. First biggest in 83, and that's demand. But then after that, you had biggest in 90. So getting in on the pullbacks here is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's just too much buying activity. It means buying activity and more buying activity. So this was in copper, and now even though it's after hours, it's just going because of this buying activity. All right. Euro also had an opportunity. This was supply that didn't work. I think it was here. I think this was it. Go to that area. Where it was. Over here. Maybe it was here. No. Yeah, this was very subtle, but the activity was here. It's very subtle, right? It's very subtle, but once it pulls back, and you have this volume coming in, they slowly accumulated this area, and over here, this was the evidence, which looked like this. This was the biggest in 13 waves, biggest volume in 13 waves. I think it was biggest volume, yeah, 13 waves. Right here, this one. And I was actually in this, but this was the break even to get me out right there. Because a rally I knew was going to go, and then it pulled back, and after this I was very confident it's going to go. But the pullback here just was, it took out that bar, it took out that low, so it became very uncertain. Anyway, so this smash down was basically a spring, took me out, and then it rallied. Look what happened. Anyway, it's fine. And in Bitcoin, we had this move, this demand that came in, right? Right here, this DMD right there, demand. And it did pull back, but right there. It's still in play. So, all right, let's take a look at the other markets. So this is in ES. Actually, it was in Nasdaq. It was more cleaner. It was more visible. It was a very small move, very small move. But right here, market went down, swept this low, came down here, and all of a sudden you see buying activity pick up. Go to tapering chart. Where the hell? Is it here or here? Here, and you know, this right here was the evidence. See that? Biggest in 18. Biggest in 18 volume. I would have, you know, it would have been great if it was, the bar was a little bit bigger, but I could tell that this was being accumulated. And then it gave a shitty bounce and went all the way break even. But then later on in the day did this, right? And this is not, you can't really get into this because there's no pullback. So, but yeah, that you know, this was it was a very small move, and after that you had the real move later on in the day. There's no way to get in. So it was more evident here than it was in the ES. In the ES, you couldn't really tell until this. You couldn't tell back here, but you could tell over here that, you know, demand. Actually, you could tell that there's something, but it's just not good. Maybe until this, you can't really tell, because here you have the higher high, and you have high price and volume. So, you know, it just gave a very little move, and then it took out everybody, it shook out everybody and went. And that's what happens. Crude oil, this was a small move, but they did offer opportunity. About where? I think it was here. So, this was the demand, right there, DMD. See that, DMD? I know sometimes I have overlapping signals, but whatever. Right, so that right there is buying activity. Buying activity, money coming in, this white line, money coming in, demand coming in, and pullback. But the problem is the pullback is, you know, later on in the day, and it's a little move, so it's still in play. But later in the day, and had a deeper pullback. I was going to get in here, but it was too late. It was too late in the day. It's like 2 something. I think it's 221 or something like that. And finally, in nat gas, there was here, but again, these moves. Oh no! The first one was up here. I thought this was going to work. It didn't work. You had demand start coming in here to hold the trend at this area of support. At this area of support, money did come in. Money did come in, and price was reacting, but they just sold it. They just sold it and rejected, and supply overcame demand. Demand did come in. It started coming in, but the supply is just too strong. Demand continued buying here and here, but it couldn't, and supply just smashed right through. Took it all the way down to these lows, to the demand zone. Here was an opportunity to get in. It's very small, but here you see the maybe covering or buying, but you could see that it's money coming in. And look at Big Blue, biggest in 49, biggest price volume in 49 up waves right there, offering the pullback right around here, and now it's going up. We'll see how much it goes, but remember, this is counter trend now because the rally is down. It might pull back, a little bit and then die out. So those were the opportunities available today. I just want to mention that in summer markets, or in markets where there's not a lot of opportunity, it's because you're looking at one market. If you're looking at one market, the number of opportunities is far less, and in my opinion, it is an error, unless you're a scalper, just to stick with one market, because while you're waiting and waiting and waiting in one market, other markets are having clear setups. Boom, demand, all over the place. So it's, I believe, much more advantageous, especially in summer markets or when the indexes are slow or not giving you a pullback, or just have too much momentum and aren't giving you low risk trades. These other markets are. We saw the move in gold, somewhat of a move in copper, and the metals are moving, and all that. All right, take care. Bye.